Hi guys, welcome back to Mkaza. Today I'm here in London after many years with a friend of mine, Justin. Thank you so much for having me. We finally clapped in the right way.
I know, we practiced all morning and we just got it right.
Yeah, after 7 times, we're here. I'm very lucky because I found you with some time, and so I am finally here to discover something more about you, because, you know what, but I do actually think you're the only colleague I have, actually. Like, you're the only guy that does basically what I do. And so, I know you started the same, but again, for people who don't already know you, what do you do?
Oh, shit, essentially, don't do
that.
Yeah,
I know. It's one against one.
I know, we laughed about it the other day when we saw each other. I think we've definitely converged over the last few years, both in terms of what we do, but also our interests, I think, in watches is very similar.
Pretty much.
No,
but of a new generation.
I think so. What do I do? Jesus. So it started with a blog.
Okay.
Over a decade ago, like 15
so
years
written
ago
content.
Yeah, written content. And it was specifically about craftsmanship, because I've always loved craft. I've always loved anything that's got an artist's touch to it.
So not just watches.
Not just watches. So I actually talked about being here in the UK, you know, the shoemaking world and the tailoring world is very much like Italy, but there's a real artisanal appreciation in the UK. So I started writing about that, and I never ever, number one, thought I would be able to do it full time. Make it a job, and number two, I never thought I'd ever have any of the watches I ever dreamt of at that time. So it's been an amazing journey, and it's evolved a lot since then.
Which year was it, if I may?
So I reckon 15 years ago now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So for I was 20, so 35 now. So yeah.
Okay.
That was a long time ago.
And you were already into watches?
I got into watches for my 18th birthday when actually the watch isn't here, but I still have it. But it's an Omega. So same as you, an Omega. And, you know, my family from South Africa. Okay. And my grandfather, I never met either grandparents on either side, but my grandfather handed his Omega, and he had one watch, his Omega, to my dad. And then my dad gave it to me on my birthday, not knowing anything about it. He'd never worn it. He just said, by the way, this is from your grandfather. And then I took it to Omega, and it was just the fact that they lit up with excitement when I came in. And they serviced it, but didn't polish it, didn't replace anything, and we put a new strap on it. And it just came alive to me, and I was like, wow, this thing is amazing. It's all these metal parts, it's like a little machine coming to life, and it's the only connection I have, and only memory of him. True. And I love the fact that he saved up for it. Omega at the time was, in many people's minds, above Rolex. It was sort of the premier brand. Yeah. And he was a one-watch guy, and I admire that a great deal, because I know we aren't, and we aren't. And so
I could never imagine that. Really.
But I love it whenever I see someone who just loves that thing. They don't think about it anymore. It's on their wrist. They wear it the whole time.
And if they pass it on the next generation, I think that's really more than priceless. Like, it has so much of a meaning, and
you're going to have a lot of kids one day.
Yeah, I strongly doubt it.
So many risks to fill.
Maybe one lucky kid, you know.
So many. One lucky kid. Over how many watches?
It's gonna be lucky. It's gonna be lucky. So you have kids, actually.
I do.
Do they already? Boy or girl?
Girl.
Does she like watches?
Do you know what? She grabs.
I know it's fun, but
she grabs the watch. I think anything that's colourful, anything that's contrasting.
So she already is at the jour.
She loves the jour.
Not bad.
Anything dark, she loves. So she's grabbing everything now. So she is grabbing it a lot. Whether she's made a move for the more expensive stuff, I don't know. But she's loving it. She is loving it.
Better watch than bags. You know? Much better. And so you started 15 years ago. So you also started collecting 15 years ago. Was it a same time experience?
I wouldn't say collecting ever was a word I ever associated with what I have done up until probably recently, because it's got so out of hand. And the width and the breadth of the stuff coming in, be it clocks, wall clocks, be it pocket watches, be it ornamental clocks and table clocks and other things. So I think now I could probably associate collecting to what I do. But when did it first start? I think maybe when I had more than one. And that probably came, I don't know, 10 years ago, when I started with IWC, because it was always the thing that was closest to my heart. A sort of uncle figure. There's still a few, not this one, but an uncle figure of mine. He wore a Portuguesa, and I always remember how lovely that looks on him. And that's what started my love affair with the brand. And so I bought an aqua timer to start with, and then I got a Portugueser. And so I guess from that moment on, there was a bit of a collecting thing going on. And since then, it's broadened out a little bit.
Beautiful. And how about this one?
Yeah, so this is interesting. So I am a sucker for the icons, the things that people work towards and aspire to, that are sort of the key design elements in the industry. No, Sanjay, so I think I love the icons, and I'm kind of a little bit obsessive about the idea of what is the ultimate pilot's watch? What's the ultimate dive watch? What's the ultimate dress watch?
And this is the answer for pilot.
I think it's not a million miles away from the perfect frame for a pilot's watch. So it's 39 millimeters. It's the 3706 from IWC, so early 2000s. This one has a tritium dial. To me, it has to have a tritium dial, and it had to have the original fish crown, which was something IWC did to signify that it was a screw-down crown on any watch that they made. And I just love the hands. I love the Mark style hands, the sort of cut-off hour.
Same.
I love the size. I love the balance on the dial. Very clean.
What about this?
Yeah, there's some engraving on the side. Yeah, so this is from. So this was given to a footballer, a German footballer, and the German date window on the watch. It's a German watch, which I loved even more because it's so German in its presence and every way, its efficiency.
True.
And it was given to the footballer, I think, from the agent in 2000.
Yes.
It's inscribed there, 2000.
1FC 2000.
There we go. I think it was when he signed for the club. I don't have any photos of him wearing it, but to me, it doesn't look like he even wore it because it's in such good condition.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is one that I've really loved, and I've had a 3705, which was the first ceramic watch. In fact, it wasn't the first ceramic watch ever, but it was the first ceramic pilot's watch ever.
Okay.
And recently I've acquired this stainless steel version. So yeah.
Yeah, but we can say that IWC has a huge role in your collecting habit and journey. And this
is very odd. Yeah, the Edison.
Yeah.
The Edison. Very 70s design. Very bold. Very bold.
So much. So much.
And we were talking about the fact that non-round cases these days have become very popular.
Yeah.
This is one that really struck me. I saw this at auction, and I put a bid on it. And honestly, I wasn't drunk.
Yeah.
I put a bid on it for a couple of £100, and I ended up winning it. And I got a message to say congratulations. And that's always the scariest email I get, is either from my mum, my wife, or the auction house saying, by the way, you've just won something.
Because you then forget, and
what
then
you bid on.
You have it, dude.
So
yeah, can relate.
But anyway, as it happens, I loved the dial. It looks almost like it's lacquered or it's finished with stone. Or,
it could actually be somehow. Huh? You would have to. Did you check some else?
I've done some research on it. IWC featured it in a book that's coming out very soon by the Heritage Director, who's a friend of mine, actually, a guy called David Cypher. And he gave me some information on the watch. It came in different formats, but this was the sort of blackened, hardened version, not ceramic, but this was pre-quartz. So this was like early 70s. This was the tuning fork experience, the tuning fork experiment. And IWC and Hamilton and others were in the process of trying to understand what the next phase of watches might be.
That's what brought to Beta 21, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. This was like, what is the next stage? Not mechanical, but maybe something like this. So this actually, it's not working at the moment, but it hums like a Beta 21 does as well. And so I'm in the process of learning about this. It's a German date window as well, and they made like 180 of them maybe in total.
Wow. So few.
In this. And so I'm looking forward to sending it back to IWC, getting it serviced so it works again, and then learning a bit about it. Because this is the journey of a collector, I think.
What do you look for in a watch, actually?
Honestly, it's just, all I look for is the full emotion, the full initial response. I don't question anything else. I mean, obviously I look at the price after I've had that feeling. But it's a bit like it's like falling in love. In some ways, I think I could have been Italian because I love the food, I love the weather, I love the design, I love the architecture, the way of life. I think the women are amongst the most beautiful in the world.
Yeah, can relate.
and I don't question any of it. It's all emotional. It's all full on emotion. It's very impulsive. It's very impulsive. And that's how I view watches. Is like I saw that pop up on the auction house, and I was like, wow, that speaks to me. It's amazing. Yeah. I don't know anything about it. It looks all original. I do try to find things that are as original as possible.
Yeah. I think it's very much of a modern thing we look for. I mean, we look at something coeval, original, in good conditions. Yep. Time capsules.
And I've done something very similar for another watch that's always been one of my dream watches from IWC that nobody ever talks about. It's the original Portofino.
Okay.
So it's an enamel dial. It's a big watch. It's like a pocket watch for the wrist. 46 millimeters. I'm sure some Italian collectors can get, some old Italian dudes can get away with this, where it's just like the Permetan, Permetan, chambray, and then the watch.
Yeah.
And this watch is like it's awesome. It's Roman numerals. It's a enamel dial, sub dial with a moon phase, and a Vacheron stone dial, sub dial, and then running seconds. But it's one of the most elegant watches ever.
Wow.
Pocket watch, gold pocket watch movement in the case back.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Anyway, I put a speculative bid on, so no one please bid on that up-and-coming auction for the 5251 Portofino from Germany, because that's coming up, and I'm hoping that I get the email from them to say that that's coming.
Good luck for this in the meantime. But pocket watches.
Yes.
This is literally, when I picked it up, I was not believing this. This is one of the most interesting watches I've ever come across. It has everything a watch should have: Breguet numerals, Breguet hands. What's that?
I can remember handling it for the first time at a Bonhams auction many years ago in London, and I couldn't afford it, but I remember handling it thinking, God, this is amazing. And that it might be one of the most beautiful, elegant objects I've ever seen.
Really, yeah.
And so when this came up, this did come up again in Bonhams in Paris about 3 years ago, and I could just about afford the sort of upper estimate. And I put a bid in, and again, thankfully I won. And I thought to myself, and while I'm not a one wristwatch guy, I think I might be a one pocket watch guy.
Really, like
because this is it. To me, this is the like. So it was in partnership. It was made in partnership between Vacheron Constantin and a Canadian aluminium company.
Okay.
And so the Canadian aluminium company provided this aluminium for them to make not just the case, the dial, the hands, because the hands are in aluminium as well, and the Breguet numerals, but also to make the bridges of the movement aluminium. So this is almost like Richard Mille / FP Journe of the 50s, 60s, 70s period, or even earlier. I'm actually not entirely sure, because this was gifted. No, this was gifted. So this was his tenure. He worked for the company from 1926
to 1953.
So Alexander Oncon, is it?
Alexander Alconi.
Alconi, there you go.
Maybe he was Italian then.
So he might have been Italian. So he was given this to commemorate his time in the company. So I'm just, and it's on my desk every day.
That's crazy.
And I wind it every day, and I love that tick on the desk.
Yeah, it's something different.
So different.
Something different, man.
And Vacheron, I've got to say, man, Vacheron very close to my heart as well, like IWC. And we'll see that in a watch coming up now.
Yeah, exactly. This is one, I think it was one of the most successful watches for the watch people, actually, because I don't know a single guy not liking this one. Literally.
This was one, so growing up, I think kids had photos of Pamela Anderson and Baywatch on their wall. I had photos of this on my wall, and I used to get abused for it. The 1921 from Vacheron Constantin, of course, a cushion-style case, off-center dial. The story is interesting. It has its lineage back in the war, actually. I think, although it's very much positioned as a driver's watch now, where you can hold the steering wheel, it was actually, I think, founded in the war, where a lot of the guys in the trenches were taking pocket watches. And of course, with the crown here, you have to actually, to solder the lugs on, because the guys were converting the pocket watches to wristwatches, they had to turn the crown to the side. And so that's how they created, I think, something similar to this, as a trench watch. And I think Vacheron at that point in the early, when the guys got back from war, they were creating something that they could connect with, they could relate to. And I think this design was something that they could relate to. And to me, whatever the story is, it's an amazing bit of design. Yeah. The crown is so smooth and buttery. If you go to a wind, it's just so lovely.
True.
And
was not expecting this.
The exploded Arabic numerals. In many ways, these two go together.
Yeah. Very much.
If you look at the style.
Very much same Breguet, very huge. Yeah. True.
And painted as well. So it's got very thick paint on it, which I love. The story with this is I've always loved the design. I never ever thought I'd be able to own one. But I was getting married 2021, and I walked into the boutique at 155 Watches Switzerland, and they had one last yellow gold. And to me, I always wanted a yellow gold one, so because the rose doesn't quite have the same story to it as yellow. And I walked in, and the lady said, yeah, absolutely, you can have that. And I said, could I get it on finance as well? So I got it on finance for 4 years, 0%, which I never thought would ever be an option. And I got married literally the week after. I was walking down the aisle, and then saw her walking down the aisle, and she spotted this on my wrist at the altar. And she's quite fiery, quite direct. She tells you, what she thinks. And out of the side of the mouth, it was like, "What the fuck is that on the wrist?" And she spotted a new watch. So anyway, she spotted it on the watch, but she loved it. She loved it. I've loved it ever since. And
that's a good thing.
Got married on the 21st, 1921. I don't know, 2021, and I was wearing the 1921, which all felt like it was the right thing. The other thing to say is the movement is the 4400 caliber, which is hand wound from Vacheron, one of my absolute favourites. I just love the architecture. It's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I love that watch. Absolutely love that watch.
Pretty big, but it is so lovely.
It is.
So you're all about design as well. I can see. You have one watch which is more normal.
Yes. The
rest is...
Well, I just thought with this one, I just thought about the idea of something quintessential again. What is the quintessential? And for me, a quintessential diver.
Yeah.
I love Tudor. I love the idea that people might think it's a Rolex, but then once you look a bit closer, you realise it's not. 7016. This was the first reference they ever had a snowflake hand.
Yeah, what do you think about the snowflake hand?
I'm a fan.
Are you?
I know some people are some people don't like it. It's not for you.
Not at all. I mean, on vintage ones, yeah, it's cool. On
the new ones,
I would never.
I agree.
Yeah, I would never.
I tend to agree.
Which year is it from?
This is 1978.
Okay.
I believe. I'm probably going to get pulled up in the comments for that.
Yeah,
no papers.
Worries.
I believe it is 1978. I love the Rolex crown. I love the Rolex case back. Tritium T-dial and no date.
Beautiful.
And no date.
Yeah.
And the other cool thing about this is that it was never sold to the public. It was either a watch for the MN, but the South African Navy, so not the Marine Nationale, but a diver's watch, a sort of issued diver's watch for the South African Navy, or it was given to the Olympic basketball winning team from that period, the late 70s.
Do you know whom did it belong to?
No, I don't. So I'm hoping to learn a little bit more over time, but I don't know what the answer is to that just yet. So, and I love it. To me, it's the quintessential diver's watch.
It almost has a bluish dial.
Yeah, it's got a bit of fade to it.
Yeah.
And to me, I was lucky that it came on a strap that this NATO is just... I've got a big thing about trying to match the strap with the watch, and this strap to me is like absolute perfection.
You have taste, man. You have taste, yeah. How do you learn stuff, by the way? Where do you find your information?
Honestly, Andrew, I think it's got, like you, I think it's making mistakes through buying stuff. And
really?
Then you not just making mistakes, but buying more. And then in that process of buying, you then want to learn more. So you go down lots of avenues online, of course, speaking to people. There's a lot of collectors out there who are like, Oro Montanari, John Goldberger, an icon of the industry. But he's super nice to speak to because he's always. I had a Longines pocket watch. I was like, he always answers. And so I think in that respect, there's a lot of people out there in the industry that are prepared to give you their time.
Sure.
And that means that still means a lot, even in our day and age where there's a lot of information out there in the world.
Yeah, they have they know what you're looking at, and most possibly they help you in this way. That's interesting because you know a lot of stuff. You're really deep in what you collect and what you look for. So it's very interesting to know how you get information. And it's also fun because starting from craftsmanship, we can see that you appreciate this kind of stuff. But if we're talking about craftsmanship.
But you know what, I was going to say, and actually trying to understand stuff, I know nothing about this. I know nothing about this. But I just immediately love this. This is a lighter from Dunhill, I think maybe early 1900s.
Yeah, I would say so.
Dunhill in London has a special place in our hearts. I think it's quite an elegant brand. It's maybe not where it used to be these days, but they used to make things like this. And the minute I saw this pop up at auction, I thought, wow. So I had to have it, and I just absolutely love it. I don't use it, but it sits there on my desk, and I just admire it.
Yeah, in the end, it's all about the beauty and not even the use of the objects. But thing is, I think these are even more rare than most wristwatches we come across, and that's interesting because you said you know nothing about it, but even if you wanted to, that's really hard. How are you going to find information on that?
The only thing I can find is catalogues, old catalogues from, say, like Asprey and Dunhill and Garrard, those types of brands. There are catalogues where you can see if the hands are right, you can see the markers.
Yeah, but you can't see, you can't tell the story from that.
They're blued, the hands are blued, it's just... The dial's in pretty good condition.
I would say 20s actually.
Yeah, I reckon so. It's got that. To me, it captures that romance of the era. You know, that sort of roaring 20s, and the guilloche finish is just stunning on there.
Craftsmanship on these was
incredible.
on another level. We still have two things to discuss, and it's fun because they're the most different things whatsoever. Like we have a table clock and a collection of swatches. Like why we have the two things here? Like
Oh God!
what does connect them?
All I can do is say, look, when this arrived, this Jaeger box, and I've always thought you need a Jaeger clock. This thing arrived, and it had this on top, and
that's a time capsule, actually.
This, man, honestly, it had this paperwork. Okay, all the original receipts and everything.
No way.
Dear Mr. Edwards, further to our correspondence to Jaeger, your electric clock was left for the. This is what it's all about. In 1989, ironically, the year I was born as well. So it's got all the set. It's got the full service story here. I think it's even written stamped. So 1974.
Yeah.
So yeah, 21st of the 9th. Mr. Edwards bought it in Hertford Street. Yeah.
So
I mean, honestly,
cool.
it just blew my mind. He's got everything. And it is falling apart a bit, but that's a bit of the charm.
That's the tag.
Oh, there's the tag. But look at this thing. This is 70s through and through.
It is.
It's just a block of steel.
It's so
and when I look at it, I just love the form. I love this form. And the blue, the way the blue sits on the back with having a brushed finish.
In some way, is the afterlife of this one.
I love it, and even the hands, the fact that they're sort of they're almost powdered, they're white powder finished. It's just incredible. So you've got your thermometer, your barometer, and then you've got your time here. It's all there. I just love it. No, it doesn't work at this stage. I don't know how to make it work. It's even got the embossed number on the back. I do want to go to Jaeger and get some get it serviced, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about this particular design because I don't know anything about this particular design. But wow, it came and I fell in love with it.
Do you think they're coming back?
I think for people who are kind of crazy enough or bold enough to get involved in it, I think there's real value to be had. I think there's lots of different options out there. From great names, you can get great names on the dial that maybe don't cost very much. I want an Atmos clock one day, but I don't have it yet. I think they are because people are obviously more dynamic in their working lives. They're at home more. They're sitting at their desk and they're loving. So I think they are.
And I think both Lippe and MBNF played a huge role in
doing that. I agree.
Because it's fun and you finally grew up to like it. So
I agree. I hope they do because it's another extension of maybe the key elements of why we love wristwatches. And so, yeah, I really do hope they come back.
Yeah, let's see this. And since you're a stylish guy, of course, you can't live without swatches.
I don't know how much I owe you for that, Andrew. I don't know how much I owe you for that.
Wow.
This is funny. I got
Black Friday.
Yeah, Black Friday. Years and years ago, I got an opportunity to actually, talking about clothing as well, I was actually able to work with Drake's, the clothing company on Savile Row, and I had the chance to buy swatches for them to sell. So it's sort of different to what I normally do, but I was really excited about it, and I got so deep into swatches, and I realised that this swatch, the very first swatch from the early 90s, was at 37 mil, the quintessential size, and the very first chronograph that Swatch ever made. And I look at these dials. I mean, this has got incredible. This has got tritium on the dial.
Yeah.
Look at the markers how they've made. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really the quintessential Swatch in the end. You collect quintessentials.
Yeah, the quintessential. This is the White Horses, which is the one that everybody kind of goes nuts for. You can't wear. The only thing that bothers me a little bit is you can't wear them all the time because the straps are a bit.
They tend to break very easily, very easily.
But to me, if you rocked up with that, in the world of what we live in, if you rock up with that, it's just next level.
It is.
Anyway, I love them.
It goes pretty well with the Joran, actually. Yeah. To me, it's on the same vibe, actually.
It is, yeah. And
even though the price point is drastically different,
But I look at these dials and I don't see anyone making dials like this these days. There's so much
more creative, so much more fun. Yeah,
I love it. Absolutely love it. So I'm really quite grateful to have been able to get in on these a few years ago.
You have more than this?
No, I just wanted the originals. So I've got one more. And I think that comprised all of the original set of the 1994.
Which is the Grand Prix? No.
Yeah, I think it might be the last one.
Of course. So that was the most popular in Italy, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it went to 650 euros.
Jesus. Yeah. So again, I think Swatch, Italy played a huge role in the popularity of Swatch.
Yeah, we played a huge role in the popularity of so many things that we also regret it, because then the price goes up, you cannot buy it anymore. You're like, why did I do this? But in the end.
Do you know what I should say, Andrew, about this though? I love is, as you can see, I honor these swatches as much as I as much as I honor them. Because to me, there's sort of this we have to appreciate all of these things because they've all got the same sort of value to me. They may have different price points, but I want them to be celebrated in the same sort of way. So that's why they're in this very ornate box.
Yeah, this I really appreciate of you because it's something I do think speaks for our new generation of collectors and media and whatever we do, because we actually do genuinely like watches and we try to give them the voice, both of us, but also the love they deserve, and that's beautiful to me. What do you see as a future of our job? What do you see in the future? Both in watchmaking, but I think we already discussed it, like if I should resume this, future of watchmaking might be in the design and in the fun, because I think we both think of this, but if you have more to say, please do. But about what we do, because again, literally, in my eyes, you're my only colleague.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What is the future of our work? I think I've definitely seen a shift because a lot of the big media outlets have become more restrictive on what they cover, what they can cover commercially. They've also, some of them have been amalgamated into bigger brands, so into big groups and other things. So I think it's really interesting. You know, I think the magazines, the media outlets have had to restrict maybe a little bit of what they can cover through commercial restrictions. Some of them have been amalgamated into bigger groups and other outlets. So I think the industry does look to individuals now. I think it looks more so than ever to individuals to find voices that they can relate to, they can appreciate, they like maybe. And I think we're moving to more film. So we're definitely moving towards more film.
Of course, I do strongly agree.
We're moving towards a period in time in which the lines are blurred. So we can see that with outlets like Hodinkee, Monochrome and others having to monetize through sales of product. And I think you mentioned that you would love to collaborate with brands to produce watches down the line.
I would.
Before we started filming. So I think more and more of that. I think more personality, I think more authenticity, I think more genuine passion, I think will win through in whatever form that takes.
Of course.
And I think we all need to be there and we all need to be committed to it because it's an industry that needs that love and to inject it into it to continue to survive. So I don't know what it looks like, but I know those are the key elements I think play into the mix.
Thank you. Let's see what we're going to do next then.
Man, all I know is that we're still having fun, and if we're still excited and having fun, then we need to continue, and that's all that really matters. So,
that's the key. Justin, thank you so much for taking time and for showing me this beautiful collection.
Man, thank you so much.
I hope to see you back in Como and Villa d'Este next year.
Absolutely,
hopefully.
Man. And hopefully with some other watches to talk about.
Yeah. Part 2 is coming. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, man.
Guys, let us know which one was your favorite watch and your favorite story, and if you do agree with the voices and background, because I loved it. And see you next video in the end.
Cheers, guys.